So there have been more developments within the freak-off saga. So now it's been announced that one of the male prostitutes that were involved in the situation, whose name is Clayton Howard, who apparently went by the nickname Dave, he is now suing Diddy and Cassie. It doesn't say for how much, but he is obviously going to be suing for a lot of money. He's claiming that Cassie gave him an STD, at least one STD, and also that she got pregnant with his child and aborted it without informing him of this. Now, for the people who didn't see my last video, I mentioned in that video that regardless of what the media, the mainstream media, is trying to make it seem like, when it comes to this whole Diddy and Cassie situation, there are no victims. I know they want to try to paint it like Cassie's a victim. She's just as fucked up as Diddy. In the case of these two individuals, you have two toxic drug addicts with very freaky tendencies. That's all the situation boils down to. If you feel some type of way, I don't give a fuck how you feel. That's just the reality of the situation. And guess what? The jury feels the same way. They also don't think that she's a victim. They unanimously, when it comes to the biggest charges, the RICO and the sex trafficking charge, the charges that they needed Cassie as a key witness to try to pin Diddy on, the jury unanimously voted not guilty for those charges. It is what it is. And again, I'm not a fan of Diddy, but I'm trying to actually be as unbiased with this as possible, unlike some of you fucking idiots who get in your feelings for every little thing. But that being said, man, this guy's probably not gonna be the last one to come out and file a lawsuit. There were at least 7 escorts, male escorts, that were named in this whole trial between Cassie and Diddy, and I imagine most of them are gonna come out with lawsuits. At least I think they would. Like, if I was one of them, to be honest with you, I would have came out with a lawsuit too. We'll see how this develops. It's very fascinating seeing this whole situation unfold, especially as just a artist observing pop culture and seeing how many people are obsessed with this whole topic. I didn't want to talk about this topic for the first several weeks because I figured, why rush into talking about this before all the details came out? Now all the details have obviously come out. A lot of fascinating things were uncovered throughout this situation. And one of those fascinating things was, you heard one of the male prostitutes claim that a lot of the crazy stuff he was doing to Cassie, these were things that Cassie herself was requesting that he do. You were also hearing claims, I believe it was from Cassie herself, claiming that at certain point after certain freak-offs, she would have, I believe she said, bumps across her mouth, and which would kind of go into the person suing her and their claims about her potentially giving him an STI. This whole situation, my main takeaway from this whole situation is, if you are an indie artist, which most people are, can't see why you would want to be tied into these Hollywood circles at this point. I mean, it should have been obvious for decades now that these sort of circles get involved in this very bizarre activity. But I mean, to this day, there's still gonna be people, like aspiring creatives, who are still gonna go this route. No matter which way you slice it, there are still gonna be freak-offs. I know it. Like, as much as people act like they hate Diddy, if Diddy gets released within the next 60 days and has a freak-off before the end of the year, I promise you, mad people will still show up to those freak-offs, regardless of what we may think about the situation.